when things don't go right with men as a woman, it's not always the man's fault. I'm not saying that it's always the woman's fault. Of course not. A lot of the times it's 50-50. And I feel like we will evolve as a people if we can accept that. I hate when women just talk crap about men as if they are perfect. I don't understand it because I see women do very toxic things, very self-sabotagey kind of things to themselves. And then they turn around and blame men for it. Hey girl, how you doing? I'm drinking. Yep, I sure am. I'm drinking alcohol. A little 10% alcohol percentage, you know, a little nothing, little something, you know what I'm saying? We got some things to talk about. We definitely got some things to talk about. The topic of this video is called Toxic Femininity and the Man-Hating Woman. I have been dying to make this video. So why am I making this type of video? Because women who exhibit toxic femininity, and they always have this narrative that men have it easier, and oh, I hate men, and men just, they always have something negative to say about men. I've noticed that these are the women
that traumatize me.
Mom, siblings, right? The women in my family have always had this narrative that women have it easier than men, and that men, we should show them no mercy. And growing up, there's been this serious case of dehumanizing of men that I didn't know was that until I got older and made like male friends when I went off to college and things like that. I thought it was normal. I was raised to believe that automatically, if you're in a relationship with a man, it's going to be traumatic and you're not going to get the results that you want. And that was scary to me, but something about it didn't quite feel right at the same time. That way of teaching didn't quite feel right to me. So one day in my mom's backyard, I manifested male friends. And I specifically manifested male friends with healthy masculinity because I wanted to know what that looked like. Because growing up, I didn't have a father, right? I lived in a single mom, 3-daughter household. And she always had negative things to say about men. And I believed her as a child. I was like, oh, men. And so I had a bad attitude towards males when I was, about 13, between the ages of like 13 and 18. And then things changed when I went off to college. I realized that wasn't healthy, and I didn't really like myself when I would say certain things about males, especially after I met males off at college that was like really positive influences on me. I realized that something just wasn't right about just hating on men, because I realized that they were humans and that they had emotion just like I did. And I honestly, y'all, as a kid, I didn't think that males had emotions because of the way that I was brought up. And at least that if they did have emotions, the emotions, like, it's not that big of a deal, right? But luckily I grew out of that, at the age of like about 19. I'm almost 30 now. So, it's very toxic to view the opposite sex like that, especially saying as the opposite sex, believe it or not, accept it or not, the opposite sex, honestly, woman, I know you got this thing when you're a feminist and you feel like that the independent woman is golden and she has way more value than a man. We don't need men for anything because you don't need men for anything because you're the independent woman, right? And so you go and you buy a house. by yourself as an independent woman, and you go buy a car by yourself as independent woman, and you go shopping and you do all these things, and I'm an independent woman, I got my own money, and that is so cool. I'm rooting for you, but I'm not rooting for the ignorance behind the independence, because the reality of it is that house that you bought when you were on your independent woman street, more than likely men built that house. And you can say, it's women who be on the construction sites too. Don't you be there? Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's women that's on the construction sites, of course. But guess what? There's always going to be more men. You want to know why? Because men are stronger than women physically. And you know that. You know that, right? That's something I don't need to say. And not only that, but the car that you drive on the road, and you just say, I'm in my car, I'm an independent woman. The car that you drive were built by men. And so the car that you drive was built by men. I know they're not having a whole bunch of women build cars and while the men just sit back drinking Cokes. I really don't think that's what's going on. Same for the road that you drive that car on. That road was more than likely paved by majority men. And you could say, women was on that road too. Maybe. But more than likely not. And you know that. You know, I mean, we can do the research, but we honestly don't have to do the research to know that a lot of the buildings, the restaurants, the housing, the apartments, the cars, the roads, the architecture of the entire civilization, we know was built by men. We know that. And, you know, by acknowledging that, you're not saying that men are superior to women. You're not saying that men are better than women and that men are smarter. That's not what we're saying. All I'm saying is that we need men in order to live a comfortable life. In order to have housing, we need men. And there's nothing wrong with needing a man. When things don't go right with men as a woman, it's not always the man's fault. I'm not saying that it's always the woman's fault. Of course not. A lot of the times it's 50-50. And I feel like we will evolve as a people if we can accept that. I hate when women just talk crap about men as if they are perfect. I don't understand it because I see women do very toxic things, very self-sabotagey kind of things to themselves, and then they turn around and blame men for it. I got my list. I'm looking at this list like I'm excited. Okay, so a lot of women that hate on men, a lot of them are single, and when they are in a relationship, they're usually not happy in that relationship, and usually they don't respect their boyfriends, and their boyfriends don't really respect them. The thing that really I can't accept is when women act like that men are the only ones who are capable of evil. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I've experienced a lot of things with women, sisters, just female family members, right? Our own mothers, we experience verbal abuse from our own mothers and things like that. And then we turn around and we crap on men. Our mothers are literally the reasons why we are so insecure and scared of men and can't even have a good relationship with a man, right? It's our mother's fault a lot of the times, right? Not just our mother's fault, it's both parents' fault, because a lot of the times the father, in my case, let's just say the father was absent, right? That's his problem, right? He was messed up for not being present, right? So he's 50-50 at fault. She's 50-50 at fault, right? She's at fault for talking crap about men and not educating you on what a good man is. All she says is fear men, they're harmful, run. And who cares about trying to be in a relationship with the right man? The right man doesn't exist. That's her narrative, right? This is mom's side. Dad's side is, that's right. You don't hear anything because he's not there, right? So it's both parents. It's not just the father who ruined things for you. And it's not just the father's fault that your love life is not going the way you want. You have to acknowledge that your mother played a role in that. That's the only way that you can heal, is if you realize that it's your mother and your father. I also want to say this, and I know that it's probably going to sound like I'm like I just learned this term, pick me. I didn't know what it was. I heard pick me. What is pick me? And I was having a conversation with a dude. I was having an intellectual debate, more specifically, and he was like, Doja Cat is such a pick me. Oh my gosh, she's such a pick me. And I'm like, what is that? And he was like, she's one of those women where when somebody says something negative about women, she says as a response, men are fine, but us as women. And I was like, wow. So that's what a pick me is. A woman who takes accountability for women's faults. So like what? Women should just continue to play the victim and act like that every single thing that goes wrong in their life is because of a man. I don't feel annoyed towards this because I just worship men and I want men to pick me. I couldn't give a damn less. I know that I'm beautiful. So I'm not over here like, please pick me. I don't give a damn. I'm beautiful. I'm building my career as an actress. I'm a painter. I'm a writer. I'm a singer. I have things to bring to the table, right? I ain't saying none of this for a man to like want me. I'm saying this because I realize that in order to evolve as an individual, as a human being, male or female, you have to take accountability for your own faults. I'm speaking on this from experience. Whenever I blamed other people for my problems, I was stuck. I could not move forward. And the people that blamed me for their problems, they could not move forward. They were stuck, living in the same house, in the same environment, eating the same foods, dealing with the same physical issues, blaming everybody for their physical issues, blaming everybody for the fact that they don't have the job they want. And what I realized, there was a pattern. And the pattern was that these people never took accountability for what they did that caused them to end up living that life that they hated. It was always somebody else's fault but their own. And I have experienced a substantial amount of trauma and abuse from family because they always wanted to use me as a scapegoat and say, Sydney is the reason why I'm still living in this house at 32. And you know, before that, this person will say, oh, no, mom is the reason why I'm still living in this house at 32. But either way, it's not my fault. I'm a grown adult, right? I have had all the time in the world to research apartments and get my own place, right? I chose not to do it. And I admitted to that. I admitted, dang, why didn't I choose to do this? And I admitted that I was jealous of my younger siblings because they went off to college and I didn't. This is an example, but this is my real life, right? And I noticed the pattern. It's not about men versus women here. I feel like that men do a lot of stuff that you do want to like slap them upside the head for, you know? Men do a lot of toxic stuff. And I'm going to make a video ripping men to shreds. Just like I will easily make a video ripping women to shreds, right? Because it's human beings that have the problem. It's not men more than women, and it's not women more than men. That's what I'm trying to get people to understand. It's accountability. That's why I make these videos saying, hey, women, you ain't perfect. And I'm not saying that men are perfect. Hell no. You think I got no ex-boyfriends that did me dirty? Of course. That's not what this video is about. That's not what it's about. It's not about revenge. It's not about who did something worse. It's about the fact that you did something wrong, right? You didn't make a decision that you should have made to get you a better love life. And because you failed to do so, you blame men, right? And the reason why I say this is because a lot of the times women, they like to hate on other men and they like to just say, oh, men are the problem. And then they turn around and they exhibit disrespect to like younger women, right? So men are the problem and younger women, like it's you. Older women can be very condescending and disrespectful. I've worked jobs with older women in there. They're jealous, right? They get really jealous and they become very disrespectful and mean. And it's in a way where you're like, wow, I couldn't imagine being your wife. I couldn't imagine being, not your wife. I couldn't imagine being your husband. I'm sorry. I couldn't imagine being your husband. Because you're hard to be around. Like, I am waiting for the moment I can clock out so that I don't have to be around your ass. Because you're hard to be around. But yet, it's men that's hard to be around, right? And a lot of those women, they all have something in common. They're either divorced or never been married. And I'm speaking from experience from some older women that I've worked with in the past, right? Just saying. This is the last thing that I'm going to say about toxic femininity, right? So I have to acknowledge my own past traits of toxic femininity to end this video, right? I'm making this video because I have owned up to the things that I have not done right as a woman. And that was the only way that I was able to move forward and feel progressive, you know? These people, they call themselves progressive, and all they do is say, men are the problem. How is that progressive? No, we as a people are the problem, and we need to team up and fix it together, or we're not going to be able to move forward. If we can't collaborate with one another and get along with one another and honor and value our differences, we're going to crash and burn. Okay? So, I got to expose myself. Yeah, I got to, because I want the world to be a better place. I want women to finally get it through their thick skulls that hating on men is a recipe for disaster. Because first of all, you always talk about how you wish you were married. I want a boyfriend. I want a husband. Right? How can you attract a husband if you're always hating on the species that your husband is in? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy for saying that. So I have to acknowledge my own toxic femininity, right? And that toxic femininity is that there are times when I've had one night stands and it went horribly. And instead of taking accountability for my own irresponsibility, I blamed the man. And I was like, oh, he was so disrespectful, and how could he treat me like that? And it's like, when you sleep with a guy that you barely know, you're disrespecting yourself. So how can you get upset when he disrespects you? Now, it's not okay that he disrespects you, not at all. You do have the right to stand up for yourself against his disrespect. But you also, in order to evolve completely and to understand the situation, you have to also acknowledge the fact that you effed up. You messed up, young lady. You messed up by opening your legs to a man that you knew in your heart, you knew in your subconscious, did not have the ability to value you for who you were. You play a role in your own demise. You play a role in your own suffering. You who reminisce on all those toxic, horrible, chaotic one-night stands. And you say, oh, I just hate men. All those men, they didn't treat me right when I had those one-night stands. That's the problem. You were having one-night stands. That's the problem. Men have a problem respecting women who just give it up without having to go on a date or having to be in a relationship or having to be married. There's no standard. Just stick it in, buddy. Stick it in. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is be slightly handsome. Can you blame a man? Can you blame a man for looking at you like you have low self-worth? You do have low self-worth. And I've done things like that in the past. And I had low self-worth when I did it. So, what are some traits of toxic femininity, right? A lot of women who have toxic femininity, right, they have daddy issues. Okay? They have daddy issues. It's a common thing with women who say very negative things about the entire male species, right? Like, all men are trash, okay? Even the male celebrities that I have crushes on, and, you know, the civil rights activists that I look up to, Malcolm X, all those men, like they're all just toxic. No. There's some men that you love. There's some celebrities you love. There's your favorite, I don't know, chef on the Food Network that you love. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. The reality of it is that there are plenty of men that are lovable creatures, just like there are plenty of women that are lovable. But you cannot receive deep, true, genuine love from a man if you do not truly and deeply love yourself. Okay? So, I put the root, I'm sorry. The root of toxic femininity is daddy issues. I'm so sorry. That's what I put, not the traits. The root of toxic femininity is daddy issues. Trauma, heartbreak, as we know, heartbreak, a boyfriend breaking up with you, insecurities, not knowing how to truly be feminine, or not being able to comfortably be feminine, which I guess is the same thing. Not being able to feel comfortable being feminine. Maybe you grew up in a household where your mother told you, you need to be working. You need to be working. You need to be making money. Who cares about cooking and cleaning? We don't do that around here. You need to be working, right? So you were raised to feel that femininity was not welcome, that femininity was not needed, right? So you have this perspective on men that you don't need them, thus making it easy for you to hate them. And you should not hate men. You should not, because especially as a heterosexual woman who wants to get married and procreate, you should not hate men. You are not going to get there. You are not going to end up married with kids. That's your goal, right? You're not going to get there if you hate men and if you speak openly about how much you hate them. You're not going to be happily married with children. And when I tell you, I ran across a lot of people. Oh my God, I've been through so much that I know what I'm talking about. So another root of toxic femininity is feeling that women have to work hard and that we should never be spoiled. A lot of this is a femininity imbalance that needs to be worked on. And it's because your mother never taught you that you should be pampered. A lot of Black women, especially, a lot of Black mothers teach their daughters that they should just work. You should not look for a husband. You should not mentally, emotionally, physically prepare yourself for a husband. You should always work on your career and making money and being independent. There's a few more points that I wrote down, but the video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to end it here. But holla if you agree with what I'm saying in this video. I know that some of y'all will disagree. I know there's some people that are probably going to watch it and be like, girl, these men out here, they just a mess. And I don't know why you defending these men. You know these men don't care about us. And these men, they only want one thing, and whatever. Like, I have a couple of really good male friends. And when I talk to them and have deep conversations with them, I just know that's not the truth. Like, they do not just want one thing, men want to be loved just like women do. Okay. So acknowledge the human in men and you will find your soulmate. I mean, who am I to talk about these things, right? So anyway, I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. Give this video a thumbs up, like, share. Yeah, share this shit. Yeah, anyway, the red scarf approves of you sharing this video. All right, so deuces. I hope that you enjoy this video.